return to peaceful negotiations. More breaking news coming to you now. The US ambassador to Lebanon has informed the Lebanese president that Israel will not escalate hostilities against Lebanon, provided it refrains from any hostile actions. This comes amid heightened tensions in the region following recent military strikes. The statement emphasizes the importance of de-escalating the situation as both sides continue to monitor developments closely. The US continues to play a key diplomatic role in ensuring stability and preventing further conflict in the region. Meanwhile, authorities are urging all parties to exercise restraint and avoid actions that could lead to a broader regional conflict. More breaking news for you now. The International Atomic Energy Agency has urged restraint in the Middle East to avoid nuclear safety risks, stating that there is no evidence of radiological impact so far. The IAEA is closely monitoring developments and remains in permanent contact with countries in the region to keep track of any potential risks. We're now being joined again by Colin Strong-Yuki. Thank you for joining us back here for this story. Now, we've heard that the International Atomic Energy Agency has urged restraint in the Middle East to avoid nuclear safety risks. What do you have to say about this?
Well, as I've stated, I don't see any credible, impact on that call. And President Trump has also dismissed, domestic calls from the left in terms of how to manage the conflict and in terms of how to manage the strikes on Iran. And I don't see any case by any other foreign entities in terms of the credibility of these calls to have any influence on the strategic calculations on the part of President Trump. And of course, he has high trust on his commanders on the ground, both in terms of the strategic necessity, in terms of also the strategic returns on all these maneuvers in place. And of course, also all these factors have been considered beforehand in terms of any possible nuclear risk or nuclear fallout. And of course, the team has been briefed on all possible angles of risk to not only to the US but also to the wider region. And we will expect to continue to foresee greater, and of course the wider calls from the world over, not only in the region, but of course, this calls by different countries and by different groupings, especially also by Russia and China, to criticize President Trump's, action, and of course to call for de-escalation, to call for the return to diplomatic platforms. But and as I've stated also, this clearly talks have failed, and that also the ball is on the court of on both sides now, also on the side of the Iranian regime as to how it will choose to react to retaliate, and in terms of how and when and where it will choose to retaliate in terms of also targeting the personnel or lives of the US forces, and this will also decide on the level of actions being taken by President Trump and his commanders also. And of course, the critical period usually will be the first 1 or 2 days, and seeing how the response system will be, and then on we can see how the fallout, in terms of the impact of the fallout, and how we can expect from there on. Ellie.
Thank you, Colin Strong-Yuki, but please don't go anywhere, as we'll join back with you in a bit. We have some more breaking news. Israeli schools will remain closed until Monday evening following the joint US-Israel attack, as announced by Education Minister Yoav Kish. He urged citizens to follow official instructions, emphasising the importance of safety. The education system is prepared for emergency situations and will resume operations as conditions permit. Additionally, Knesset Speaker Amir Ohana declared that all parliamentary activities, including committee meetings and plenum sessions, will be suspended tomorrow due to ongoing security concerns. More breaking news. The significant escalation in the Middle Eastern tensions is being closely monitored as reports of an Israeli strike on Iran trigger immediate volatility across global financial markets. Currently, a sharp spike in Brent crude oil prices is being observed, with a jump of over 3%, pushing barrels past the $90 mark. This surge is being driven by heightened fears of a broader regional conflict that could severely disrupt supply chains in the Strait of Hormuz. Furthermore, a flight to safety is being seen among investors. Gold prices have been pushed towards record highs, while the US dollar and Japanese yen are being favoured as safe haven assets. Meanwhile, equity markets in Asia are being hit by a wave of selling, with the Nikkei and Hang Seng indices record notable losses. Regardless of the immediate market reaction, the long-term economic impact is expected to be determined by the scale of any Iranian counter-response. However, global energy prices are already being braced for further instability. We're now being joined by Collins Chong-Yu-Keat, and thank you for joining us back here for this. So we've just heard that with tensions now rising, with this, currently a sharp spike in crude oil prices is being observed. How will this affect the global market?
Well, of course, we will expect some turbulence and volatility in terms of course, the market, the prices of resources and energy, especially the oil. But it's too early to gauge in terms of the real impact, Strait of Hormuz, and of course also any blockades being seen. Of course, it's still early; it's still the first day, and of course also for now the counter strikes and retaliations have been largely been managed in a way, and it remains to be seen for the next couple of days now. But of course, as I've stated, these are all being taken into account, and of course the returns are far greater than the risks involved, and of course, and the decision has been made. And of course the timeline has also been made that this is the after decades of the rule by this regime, and President Trump has decided that this is the best time now to ensure that and all these risks are being managed, and that the threats involved are effectively distinguished. But in terms of the economic impact to the US, I don't foresee any significant fallout in terms of all these risks directly impacting the core fundamentals of the U.S. economic interests. Of course, it will have some profound implications to the wider world, especially to the region. But we have seen how the energy dominance being set by President Trump since last year has so far set quite a credible foundation for the U.S., but not so for the rest of the world. Of course, the volatilities in terms of market prices and in terms of energy prices will continue to be felt across the world, and it will give a huge kind of shock to the global prices. But so far, the impact has not reverberated across the U.S. domestic scene as of now. Really.
Thank you so much, Collins Chong-Yu-Keat, for joining us here today on NewsX World. That's all we have time for. Keep watching NewsX World for more news updates from around the world.